Hi out there. I know during these trying times it's difficult juggling work from home and educational studies with your little ones. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a break. I'm going to take a few moments to read a book that I wrote a few years back. It's called The Extraordinarily Ordinary Life of Prince. Which forks first? I wrote this book because it really made me think about myself and my childhood and how I'd learned proper table etiquette. And I'm hoping that your children can learn a little something too. I've actually used this downtime to finish writing my second book, which is about bullying. It's finally finished, but more of that to come later. Let's jump into this story. I hope all of you enjoyed as much as I did writing it. Prince was a 6-year-old who lived in New Rochelle, New York, in the attic apartment of a 3-family house with his mother, father, brother, and teddy bear hamster named Popcorn. Prince named his hamster Popcorn because he thought that's just what his new friend looked like. Prince was an adventurer through and through, but it seemed that he could never find an adventure anywhere. If you asked him, he'd tell you his life was quite ordinary. Even though Prince thought there was nothing worth exploring in his house or in his neighborhood, he did get excited about one thing: spaghetti night. Prince's mom made the best spaghetti in all of New York. One evening, when she announced she was making his beloved pasta, Prince waited by the oven and watched her cook so he could get the first serving. As the sauce came to a boil, Prince's mom asked him to set the table. "Why do I always have to set the table?" Prince asked as he tugged the silverware drawer to open it. "Why can't we just eat standing up with paper plates so we don't dirty any of the dishes?" Prince's mom smiled and said, "It's important to have dinner at a set table because it's civilized." "What's civilized again?" Prince asked. "It means being polite and well-mannered," she explained. "Do you think Popcorn is civilized?" Prince asked, grinning. "We'll just have to see what he does when he eats his dinner," she replied. After Prince set the last fork down on the table, he exclaimed, "I'm civilized." Prince's mother called the rest of the family to dinner and then looked at the table. "The glasses and the forks are on the wrong side of the plate," she said. Prince wondered how his mom knew that and why it mattered where the glasses were placed. Mother helped Prince fix the table setting, and then she gave him the first helping of spaghetti. As the family began to eat, she made a special announcement. "Prince, for your birthday this weekend, we're taking you to a Broadway show and a grown-up dinner at the New York Hotel." Prince smiled and his eyes lit up. He had dreamed of doing this for as long as he could remember. "There's just one thing," Prince's mom added. "You will have to practice proper etiquette so you know how to conduct yourself during dinner." Prince's giant smile drooped. His mother always found a way to turn something fun into homework. "No matter," Prince thought as he slurped up a long noodle. "I'm going to Broadway." The next day, when Prince got home from school, his mother was waiting for him in the kitchen. The table was set, and there were more silver place settings than he had ever seen in his life. He looked at Popcorn's friendly face and then glanced back at the intimidating table. "Welcome to your etiquette lesson," Prince's mom said with a smile. Popcorn moved closer to the corner of the cage so he could pay close attention too. "Young men should wear jackets with slacks to a formal dinner, and young women should wear dresses or dress slacks with a blouse," she stated. "To get a true feeling for the experience, run to your room and put on your blue blazer. After that, please wash your hands to remove all of the germs." Prince did what his mother asked and returned to the kitchen. Popcorn stood on his hind legs now, watching everything. "First, it's proper to pull out the chair for any young ladies that you're dining with," she instructed. "Are you getting this, Popcorn?" Prince whispered as he watched his mother. "After young ladies are settled, you may take your own seat," she went on. "Take the napkin from the table and place it gently in your lap." Prince thought wearing a blazer at home and putting a napkin in his lap was silly, but he did it without complaint. For the next hour, Prince's mom continued giving step-by-step instructions. Prince daydreamed about discovering a new species of lizard and kicking the winning goal at his next soccer game as his mother talked about butter knives and salad forks. The next thing he knew, she said, "Now, don't forget what I've taught you. You'll need to know all of it to conduct yourself properly during dinner tomorrow night." Prince was speechless. The entire lesson was a blur. He watched his mother walk out of the kitchen before he turned his attention to Popcorn, who was still watching with curiosity. "What am I gonna do now?" Prince asked Popcorn. Popcorn looked back at him, and Prince thought he saw the hamster's tiny lips curl into a smile. After Prince was tucked into bed that night, he had trouble falling asleep. All he could think about was forks, knives, and napkins. He couldn't remember where any of them went or how to use them. The only thing he could remember is that he needed to wear a jacket and place a napkin in his lap. Prince finally drifted off after tossing and turning. Soon, he was standing in front of a dining table that was perfectly set with crisp white linens and polished silverware. "This place is strange," Prince thought. "There's no walls, just a set table. I must be dreaming. What in the world am I doing here?" he wondered. "My dreams are usually filled with adventure and fun." Then he looked over to see Popcorn sitting on the table. Prince stared in awe at the tiny little hamster scurrying around the table. Mother wouldn't approve of this at all, he thought. "Not to worry," Popcorn said as he moved the fork into place. "Have a seat." "I always knew you could talk," Prince said, "and your voice sounds just like I thought it would." "I'm going to help you remember the etiquette lesson," Popcorn told him. "The first time you talk, it's about holding a fork?" Prince complained. "Okay," Prince said, "I'm ready." "Which is a solid fork?" Popcorn asked. Prince looked at the forks and realized that he could really use Popcorn's help. Prince realized he was wearing his blue blazer and his gray pants. He picked up the napkin from the table and placed it in his lap. "That one," Prince said as he pointed to the first fork. "Good," Popcorn said, and then he explained that utensils are placed in the order in which they should be used. The fork, the bread plate, butter knife, and napkin are all placed to the left of the dinner plate. The knives, spoons, cup, and saucer are set to the right. "Here's an easy way to remember," Popcorn said. "Hold your hands in front of you and make a thumbs up." Popcorn held out his furry paws into the air to demonstrate. Prince chuckled as he copied his pet's gestures. "Look closely, and you'll see your left hand forming the letter B for bread plate, which goes with the fork, the butter knife. Your right hand forms the letter D for drinking glass, which goes on the right side with your knives and spoon." Prince was thrilled at this hint and felt much more confident. "That's easy," Popcorn said. "I don't even have thumbs to help me. Now all you have to do is remember to use the utensils in the order in which the meal is served." Popcorn then listed some things for Prince to remember. Elbows don't rest on the table. When you're not eating, place your hands in your lap is a good idea. Never chew with your mouth open. Leave that for the farm animals. Don't talk with your mouth full of food. People like your stories, but they don't want to see what your dinner looks like while they listen. Always sit up straight. Slouchers are no fun to be around. Tilting your chair back may seem fun, but falling backwards and taking a drink along for a ride isn't. Always bring your food up to your mouth rather than bringing your mouth down to your plate. That's fine behavior for a pig trough, but you're no piggy. Never chew gum while eating. It's rude, and it confuses your teeth. Don't place your utensils on the tablecloth when you're done eating. Everything should remain on the plate. Pick up your glass when drinking through a straw. Use your strong arms to save your neck from stretching too far. And when you're done with your meal, cross your fork and knife in an X shape to inform your host or server that you're finished. X doesn't just mark the spot for treasures, it also marks a finished plate. Popcorn, "I can't thank you enough," Prince said. "I feel like I'm finally ready to have my grown-up dinner." Popcorn ran over and snuggled with Prince. The next afternoon, Prince counted down the hours until his grown-up birthday dinner. When it was finally time to leave, he dressed in his best blazer and slacks and rushed downstairs to the car. Prince watched out the window as the city zoomed by. The car stopped in front of a huge building that had an image of a crown on front of it. They were at the New York hotel. A gentleman with white gloves opened the car door, welcoming Prince and his family. As Prince walked through the front door, another man in white gloves held the door open and said, "Welcome." Prince walked through the stunning lobby, gazing at the beautiful paintings and fresh flowers. It was the most breathtaking thing he had ever seen. He thought, this must be what it feels like when a real prince travels the world. The entire lobby looked like a palace. He had finally found his adventure. A host greeted the family in front of the restaurant and seated them at their table. Everything was just as Popcorn had described it. Prince remembered everything Popcorn had taught him. When he looked up at his mom, he could see she was proud of his proper table manners. When everyone had finished their meal, several people dressed in uniform appeared at the table and sang "Happy birthday" to you. And then they presented Prince with a cake. He was thrilled. How did they know it was his birthday? As they left the New York hotel, everyone they passed wished Prince a happy birthday. Everyone knew. It was like magic. Prince was off to a Broadway show next, but his night was already perfect. He had been to a real palace and had a grown-up meal, and his etiquette was flawless. He couldn't wait to get to school to tell his friends about what he had learned and his exciting night in New York City. Perhaps his life wasn't so ordinary after all.